Welcome to the Pipe Pricks Podcast with your hosts, John and Matt.
And now, from the JTT Pipe Shop in beautiful South Park, Pennsylvania, comes the Pipe Pricks Podcast with John and
Matt. And John, what are you smoking this morning?
I'm smoking the HU Virginia in a sort of freehand Costello pipe.
All right. And I'm smoking some 8th State Burley from 2021 in a JS Briar's pipe. And I picked that up at the Columbus show last weekend. So we're going to talk about all day today.
We'll talk about the Columbus show.
All right.
So
John, how was your weekend?
It was very interesting. So I drove out to Columbus with Brad and Homer, my two friends, on Friday. We got there for the Friday evening, and besides a mess up at check-in, which is another story by itself, we went out in the smoking tent, and the show itself had about 100 tables, 100 vendors, all the way from fancy tampers to pipe tobacco to pipes and so on and so forth. If you couldn't find it, it wasn't to be had. Well, I should change that statement. There were only a couple high grade pipes there. They were normally run of the mill to lower grades, a lot of estate pipes. And Friday night I didn't buy any pipes. Saturday I got up and I won a can of Dunhill tobacco in the raffle.
Like you need that like a hole in your head.
Like I need a hole in the head. I do need a hole in the head. So I'd been looking around and I scouted out all the tables Friday night. Really didn't see any pipes I wanted to buy. But then I went back around on Saturday and I saw this pipe, and I talked to Homer, and what it was a JT Cook, but it was a very unusual JT Cook in that it had a bridge on it. A bridge is a connection of the briar between the bowl and the shank, and basically there's a hole there, you can put your finger through it. And JT Cooks, for anybody who knows, he's been making pipes for years. He
made pipes for years. He's retired now.
He's retired 2 years ago. And when he went to a show, you might have seen 5 pipes on his table. However, by the time the show started, they were all sold. So it was very hard to get a JT Cook. Now, I had one years ago which had a very soft stem on it, which I did not like. And this pipe was perfect. So Homer and I colluded, and we debated about what it was worth. And told the guy, I says, look, you get one shot. Tell me what your best price on this pipe was. Meanwhile, Homer and I had come up with a ballpark figure. So the guy hemmed and he hawed and he thought about it. And he came up with a price which was eminently satisfactory. It was, I'm not going to tell you the price, but it was like $300 less than he had marked on the pipe. So I bought it, and I now have a JT Cook, a unique JT Cook.
And as a sandblast aficionado, I will say
very
that pipe
deep.
has one of the best sandblast finishes I've ever seen. It's very deep, very cagey.
Which is what Cook was known for.
Yeah, that was his hallmark. But I mean, I own 2 JT Cook sandblasts, and it is deeper and cagier than either of mine. And the orange acrylic stem is absolutely gorgeous on it.
And we'll probably try and post a picture of it with this with this
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah. If John sends me a picture, I'll definitely put it in media
I have
notes.
it on my phone. So I got the pipe. I also bought 3 cans of tobacco, which I stoved this weekend, 2 of them. Tin stoved.
What did you buy, John?
Well, it was I forget what it was. It was in Virginia.
The
Carolina
C&D
Red.
Carolina Red Flake.
Right. So I got 3 cans. I took 2 of them and I tin stoved them. But I, like a dummy, set the temperature for 200 and not 190, and the tins all bulged. They did not pop, but they all bulged tremendously. So
That's okay.
I got that. I also stoved a little bit of Winchester, which I'm trying. I like Winchester, but I'm trying to, which is a bulk that they sell at the store here, Virginia, and I'm trying to come up with a blend that lasts a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So Winchester is a good blend. It just tends to burn quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
So John is trying to make his Winchester last a little bit by mixing it with various other Virginias to see if it can slow down the burn rate.
So I won a can, bought 3 cans, and a guy brought me and traded me for 2 cans of Emperor Leopoldo. And for those that do not know, the Emperor Leopoldo tobacco was a brand that McClellan made, especially at my urging. And I obtained 2 tins at the show, which now brings me up to 11 tins. So I'm quite happy to find it. It's basically a blend of 5100 and 5105 Virginias. That's a stove Virginia and a regular Virginia.
Yeah, the 5100 is the red Virginia and the 5105 is the stove. And if I remember correctly, you told me it's 65% 5100 and 35% 5105.
And there's maybe they stoved a total of, they made maybe 400 tins, which were sold at various shows. So I went from I'm up to 11 tins of it now.
Yeah. And he would be at 12, but fortunately John was gracious enough to give me one early on in our friendship so that I could experience it.
Experience a good Virginia.
And it is a very good Virginia. Still smells like ketchup.
Yeah.
According to Sam, our friendly owner of Just a Tip.
What the hell's he know? So why don't you tell us about who you came out with, what you got, and your driver.
Yeah, so a friend of the podcast, Greg, and I, we decided that we were just going to make a day trip on Saturday, which I think was a mistake, and next year we will hopefully drive up on Friday and spend the night.
And take somebody with you that can negotiate.
Yeah, and hopefully take John so I can get some lessons in pipe negotiating 101. So Greg and I, I got up around 4:15, met Greg at his house at 5, and then we drove out. We got there about 8:30.
And some SOB called me at 5:30 in the morning. And all I had was a message on my phone, and Homer, I finally got to sleep. I won't say anything more.
I don't know who that SOB was, but John tells me every day he's up at 5, so I took him at his word and woke him up at 5:30. So anyway, we get to the show. We get there a little early. I actually got to meet one of the guys I knew from the Average Joe Pipe Club online in person. His name's Keith. He's a great guy. We hung out a lot that day, Greg, Keith, and I. Keith was one of those guys buying those fancy pewter tampers. I guess he has a collection from the guy, and has a nice display, and they are really nice. They're, in my opinion, they're more ornamentation than useful, but they're heavy, so they could very well be a good tamper. Anyway, so Greg and I get there, and I had a rule going into the show that the first pass I was only going to buy certain Cephalfera, Seattle Plate Club tins, Carolina Red Flake, and Cabby's mixture were the only things I was supposed to buy on the first pass. Well, and show exclusive sorry, I'll speak English. And show only exclusive tobaccos. So I bought 2 of the NASPC. What does that stand for anyway?
North American Society of Pipe Collectors, and their show tobacco this year was an
English called
blend.
Troll's Treasure, I believe. And then tinbids.com, who was sponsoring the event, had their own show exclusive tobaccos, and I bought 3 of their English and 1 of their aromatics. I've tried the aromatic; it's very good. Nice hints of orange and vanilla, and a little bit of almond in it. I've not tried the other one yet. My first impression of the Troll's Treasure essentially is I need to smoke it again because I thought it tasted like dirt. I don't know if that was the pipe it was in or what, but it will definitely get a second look. The one thing I was disappointed in is, the unspoken rule of buying tobacco is buy 1, sell or 2. And the NASPC folks were only allowing you to buy 2 tins of the tobacco, which I thought was poor planning on their part because, well, I should have been able to buy 1 and sell or 2. In hindsight, it might have been a good thing that I can't do that. So I ended up buying 2 pipes. The first was an Estate Meerschaum, which I was so overwhelmed by the show I didn't even try to haggle, which is why I need to spend more time with John and watch his skills. And then I bought a Falcon pipe with the Briar Bowl from J.G. Wolf, who will be a future guest on the podcast. He's a very good carver and makes some nice pipes and nice Falcon bowls. And I bought a Meerschaum bowl with some lattice work on it for the Falcon as well, with a matching tamper. So those were my 2 big pipe purchases. Now, where I differed from John in his buying of his acquisition of about 6 tins of tobacco, I bought about 2.8 pounds of tobacco at the show. I stocked up on some Carolina Red Flake. I found my Cabby's mixture, which I got. It is the old, it's from 2018, and it still has the British flag logo on it from before it got the American branding on it. So I was excited about that, and I did haggle on that. I did haggle on most of my purchases. Just I screwed up the initial Meerschaum purchase.
And there were, like I said, 100 tables. They had tables of nothing but Meerschaums. They had tables, nothing like tobacco. I had taken about 10 tins of old McClellans with me, and I was trading friends of mine, and that was all gone in 10 minutes. So it helped defray my purchases.
Yeah, and there was one guy there that was Meerschaum only, and in hindsight, I should have waited for him to buy my Meerschaum pipe. However, somebody the Meerschaum guy, didn't make it to the pipe show until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, rumor has it he was hitting the sauce a little hard in the tent in the bar the night before. So, rumor has it, clarifying, not a fact, but a rumor. So, we will leave it at that.
But how did Greg do? Now, Greg won a pipe in the
Yes.
raffle.
So Greg won a pipe in the raffle. He won a falcon with a nice briar bull on it. He got one of the things he was looking for was 2 tins of McClellan 40th anniversary.
The
And
blue can.
The blue can. And there was a guy there charging $140 a tin.
Which was the going price for like any of the 100-gram McClellan tins.
Yes, 100 gram.
Christmas cheer and all that.
Yeah, the guy had more Christmas cheer in one place than I've seen anywhere other than John's house. And then he had the 40th anniversary stuff. And we were sitting in the smoking tent, and this older gentleman came over and had an exhibitor badge on him, and he was sitting down. We were talking about the show, and he goes, "What have you been buying mostly?" And I said, "Oh, tobacco." He goes, "Oh, I got a whole box of tobacco I haven't even opened." So my first question was, "Do you have any Sutler Pharisee out of Pipe Club stuff?" And he said, "No, I don't. I'm sorry." My second question was, "Do you have any McClellan stuff?" And he goes, "Yeah, I got a couple tins of 40th anniversary." And I said, "What do you want for that?" And he said, $90 a tin. So I immediately pick up my phone and call Greg, because Greg was going to lunch with Keith. And I said, "Greg, get your ass back here." And he comes back, and I introduced him to the guy, and they went in and wheeled and dealed. I know Greg got his 2 tins of 40th. I don't know what he paid exactly. But,
He was happy.
yeah, he was happy, and he saved some money. And he bought a couple other tins, but not a whole lot. He has had some family issues, so.
So the smoking area was about 4 or 5 tents, canopies?
Yeah, I'd say it was probably 100 feet of tent, maybe a little more.
So anyways, they probably had about 10, 15 tables out there, and people were sitting out there smoking all day, and boy, it was hot. I was out there in the evening, and at each table, somebody had left quart jars of tobacco for anybody that wanted to smoke. Unfortunately, they're all English at our tables.
So yeah, funny story about that. I met a gentleman here a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me about how he worked at Tinderbox, and the only thing he smoked was North Sea. And I sat down at one of the tables, and it had North Sea at it, and I was like, "Oh, I can try this blend this guy talked about." Man, I opened that tin and it smelled like rotten kelp. I don't know how else to describe it. It was one of the most unpleasant odors I've ever smelled.
Was it a tin or was it a...
It was one of those quart
The jar,
jars that
quart
they
jar.
left on the table. And I opened that jar, and I was like, "Oh, nope, this is not going into any pipe I have. I'm sorry, sir, that I met that loved this, but no, this is not going into any of my pipes."
So we ended up smoking out there Saturday night too. And first night we smoked probably till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Second night till about 10 or 11 at night. And BSing with friends. And there was a lot of people there. However, it was real nice for me to see Fred Hanna again. Fred had bought at the same time I did a Fiametta grade Costello Hawkbill, which a couple years ago. He brought it to a show and he sold it back to me. But he wanted to see it again, and I'd taken 4 hawkbills with me, the large ones. And he got to see that. There were people whose absence were noted. We did not see Roswitha Anderson from S&R Tobacco. Hopefully she's doing okay.
Law Dog wasn't there.
Law Dog wasn't there because of issues. And however, Steve Monjour was there.
Yes, we got to see our friend Steve Monjour.
And I thought I had lost a lighter in the hotel. So I went and bought a KEJIAR lighter that Steve gave me a few bucks off of, and it has built-in tools and it has a built-in pipe stand, which was kind of neat.
It's a very nice lighter, especially for the deal you got.
And then I found my lighter when I went back to my room.
Well, you got a new one that's nice. I'm still using the one you gave me, the double flame with the Pittsburgh Pipe Club logo on it.
Tin Bids was there in force. They had a lot of their matches out on the tables and all that stuff.
Yeah, the one girl from Tin Bids is like, would you like to take some matches home? And I'm thinking, no, but I'd like to take you home.
So it was well attended.
Now, how would you compare the size to other shows, other Columbus shows you've been to? Same size, bigger, smaller?
It was typical of Columbus. Not as big as Chicago or Vegas, which I've been to. Like I said, there was a lack of very high grade pipes there for sale. I was lucky to find the Cook.
Yes.
At a very good price.
Yeah. I missed it completely. John came over to me and goes, look at the JT Cook I bought. I was like, you SOB, that's gorgeous.
And there should be, like I said, a picture. I just sent it to you.
Okay. But yeah, it was a good show. I got to meet the infamous Mutton Chop Piper from YouTube. Seemed like quite a nice guy, and he definitely rocks the mutton chops.
Who's the guy from the other club? I can't remember his name. He's a podcaster and all that.
Chris Schmack.
Well, yeah, Chris Schmack was there.
Schmack.
And
he has a YouTube channel.
He has a YouTube channel, and
another friend of the podcast.
Yep, and so it was well attended, and that's about all I can say. So we got up Sunday morning. We drove straight back, and
so one thing I heard was Columbus had more tobacco than Chicago, whereas Chicago is more focused on pipes. Has that been your experience?
Well, you got to remember that Columbus has
Sorry, we had a couple of guests waving in the door.
Yeah, they weren't waving. Yeah, my goddaughter and granddaughter. But anyways, yeah, it was a good show. Yeah,
it was. I had a good time. The only thing I think I would do different next year is spend the night on Friday so we can get a good look at the. Because the show is open Friday night from like 5 to 9 or something like that, and I'd like to be there to be able to survey and plan a little better than I did this year.
And a lot of stuff goes early.
And I need to take some haggling lessons off John because I paid retail on a couple, not retail, but I paid asking price on a few things where I probably could have saved some money.
$5 here, $10 there.
Yeah.
The hotel food was rather expensive, but it was okay. Like I said, I had some problems. I'd asked for a handicap room with 2 beds, and they said they only had them with 1, so we ended up in a non-handicap room,
Yeah.
which created some problems for me.
So apparently John had a double bedroom handicap room confirmed by the hotel, and then he gets there to discover that that room doesn't even exist in their hotel. So a little disappointment with hotel logistics on John's end of things.
We had a very good turnout from our local group.
Yeah, we were at a table in the morning when there was about 8 to 10 people that were all
Local.
Pittsburgh, Washington Pipe Club members. So, our local Pittsburgh group was well attended, and then I saw Dave, who hangs out here a bit later in the day. I saw him at a table, and so just people we knew. There were at least 15 people, I'd say, from Pittsburgh, and that's just folks John and I know personally. Who knows how many others, but I had a Liberty Pole Spirits hat on, which is a local distillery, and I had a couple of vendors. Oh, you must be from Pittsburgh. I'm like, yes, sir. How'd you know? He goes, your hat. And I'm like, oh. And I rocked the Pipe Pricks t-shirt, although John did not.
Nobody has it on now.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. No advertising in the back room of a cigar shop where everybody already knows. So yeah, it was a great time. I think NASPC did a good job of putting on the show. I will say the one interaction that rubbed me wrong was when I bought 2 tins of the show tobacco and handed the guy $40, and he said, "You would like your change in raffle tickets, right?" Like, okay, do I even have a choice at this point? So, had I won something, I wouldn't be complaining. But since I didn't win anything, I'm gonna nitpick.
There's always next year.
Yeah, and the raffles were good. They gave away tobacco every hour on the hour, and then I would say at the end they probably had about 8 or 10 pipes that they gave away. They would just pull a pipe out of the case and then pull a number, and that was your pipe. You didn't get to pick. They just pulled one out and said, all right, this is the next winners, and they pulled the pipe out and off they went.
Yep.
And like we said, Greg was a fortunate winner. I did get some White Castle on the way home because we don't have White Castle in Pittsburgh, and my inner stoner came out and said I need some sliders and stuff like that. So we got it, and I think that's about it for today. We'd like to thank Just the Tip Cigars for hosting us as always.
I'd like to thank the Columbus Pipe Club NASPC Pipe Club for putting on a very nice show.
Yes, it was a very great show. The facilities were nice, but not, other than John's situation. But, yeah, it was a good show. It was comfortable accommodations.
Jeff and Eddie did a real good job of running the show. They had a lot of new helpers there that I noticed since I've been going to that show for 27 years now, 28 years.
Yeah. And I will agree with John, it was hot outside to the point where I probably sat outside 70% of the 8 or 9 hours we were there, and I only smoked 2 bowls because the heat was just so oppressive that I didn't want to smoke. But, weather is weather, right? And what do you expect for August?
And the big thing about pipe shows is it gives you a real good chance to meet new people and socialize with old friends.
Yes, I got to meet some new folks. I would, if I had one suggestion for the NASPC people, is put some industrial fans at either end of the tent and get some air flowing through the tent, which would have helped with the temperature a little bit, I think, because if we had some big fans blowing, move around some air. But anyway, that's our podcast for today, and we thank you all for listening, and catch you in a couple weeks.
And if you've never been to a show, go to a show. Until you've been to a show, you don't know what you're missing.
I would agree 100% with that, and my advice would be try not to be overwhelmed when you first get there. Take your time, negotiate.
Follow your game plan.
Yeah, I failed to execute my game plan. I had a very good game plan, but I failed. But yeah, stick to your game plan. Haggle. Don't be disrespectful, but haggle. And that's it for today, all right? Everybody have a good day, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
73.
Good night.